for a walk, all the way to the temple.
Yeah, in New Vrindavan.
Yeah, I just went to the palace. I just went for a long japa walk. I just came back.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was there
Here.
long ago.
Yeah, I stayed here with my daughter's mother-in-law.
Wonderful.
They have a house there.
Wow.
They live here for 40 years. So it's like about
Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agyanti Mirandasya Gyananjara Sharakaya. Shakshu Miritam Yena Tashmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanyamanu Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamayam Dadati Shvapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sha Shri Rupa Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Samjivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kansane Gorangi Radhe Vindavaneshvari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Aripriye Vanshakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityanand Shri Advaita Gadada Shiva Sadigor Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Swagatam Suswagatam. Okay, so we are entering the 12th chapter, which is the shortest, with the 15th chapter. So what's the connection with basically the 11th chapter? What do you think the connection is?
Like Krishna has already mentioned about universal form, has displayed his universal form to Arjuna.
Yes.
Now it's like Vishvato Mukham, like everywhere he could see Krishna. So it was I think earlier Krishna mentioned in the Bhagavad-gita, like some people worship him in this particular form, Vishvato Mukham, and some people also worship him as a avyakta, like ekatvam, like a oneness. So after all these instructions that Arjuna received from Krishna, now we want to understand exactly what is the best of the which is the best of the path, or the best of the various types of yoga, like Vishwarupa meditation or Ekotvam, different types that Krishna mentioned already.
Yeah.
So it connects to both 11th chapter, at the same time all the previous chapters that wherever Krishna hinted various different types of yoga. So just want to understand, and that's how the 12th chapter starts with the question of the Arjuna.
Very good. I like it. It's quite a nice reason. I mean, a very nice connection you made. Goloka, would you like to have your own shot at it?
The connection I make, like at the end of chapter 11, then Arjuna, he really doesn't want to fix his mind on the universal form. We just want to, to see Krishna, his two-handed form, and he wanted to worship Krishna in this form. So also at the end of the chapter, the last verse of chapter 11, they said that only by devotional service you know,
Oh,
only by
exactly,
devotional.
exactly.
Yeah.
And this chapter 12, it's indicating, how we can, by devotional service, we can reject all the other type of yoga, but let's concentrate on bhakti yoga.
Okay, that's quite extremely well put also.
Mhm.
So basically, the Gita's middle 6 chapters began with, remember, beginning of the 7th chapter, Krishna discussed about Bhakti Yoga. What is 7.1? Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Maya Shakta Manapalt Yoga Yunga Madashrayaha Asamshayam Samagram Mam Yatagya Sasita Shrinu. Tat Shrinu. Here, how? By Maya Shakta Manapalt, by attaching your mind unto me, which is Bhakti Yoga, basically. Asamshayam Samagramam, without any doubt. Maya Shakta Manapalt Yoga Yunga Madashrayaha. You're going to, and your consciousness unto me as well, without any doubt, you will reach me. So he started off with Bhakti in the middle 6 chapters, and he's going to end up, of course, with Bhakti. He wants to do it that way. Actually, remember, Gita means Arjuna is basically asking questions. So in one sense, he's calling the shots here. Krishna just answers. So you're right, Goloka, he has witnessed the Virat Roop. So he wants to confirm his own position as a devotee. By now, anyway, he's a Vishnu Parikar, but even according to the progress of the Gita, by now he's totally convinced, even way back from 10:12. Paramdam, Parambhavam, Pavitram Idam Uttamam. I declare it boldly, you are the purest. Your abode is the purest. You are the highest. Pavitram Idam Uttamam. So by 10:12, already is totally convinced. Even though it doesn't have to be, it's good Yoga Maya, we know. So he wants to confirm his own position because he works for Krishna, as opposed to a Gyani. And he wants to make it known to the whole world for generations to come. So the Gyani tends to renounce work. That's another hammer, that's another hammering the point that Bhakti supersedes any other path. So he's going to ask, I guess you have read through, he's going to ask whether is it through Bhakti or worshipping the impersonal, which is superior. And Krishna, without any doubt, is going to respond immediately. We know the answer. Already he has made his point home so often, 647, Yoginam Api Sarvesham. Again here, Bhakti is way superior. So definitely a worshipper of the Virat is less perfect. And we're going to see 12.5, they undergo much difficulty. So the path of Bhakti is Rijubi, we say. Kapil is calling that Rijubi Yoga Marge. It means it's simple, it's easy. And on top of that, we're going to learn in this 12th chapter that Krishna himself, Samudarta means deliverer. He himself delivers the devotee from the turbulences of material world. He's going to rescue him. Just like you're drowning in a swimming pool, you're going to die. So the master swimmer is diving in to rescue you. You were about to die. So this is exactly what's going to happen for a good devotee. He's going to be rescued from material life. Okay, so let's get into it. Okay, 12.1.
Okay, Arjuna inquired, which are considered to be more perfect? Those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship impersonal Brahman, the end manifested?
So did you notice all these questions are basically one and the same from the very beginning? It's kind of rephrased differently, just like 3-1, 5-1, 12-1, always the same basically. Did you notice that in essence, it brings forward the same. He wants to elicit the same answer from Lord Krishna. Just like 3-1, remember way back? Don't be equivocal, Krishna. I want to, what is it? Why are you engaging me in this ghastly warfare? If you say that Buddhi Yoga is better, okay, I got you, I got it. I should be able to get rid of all abominable activities by push them far back and engage in Buddhi Yoga for favorable action. Why do you ask me to engage in this ghastly warfare if Buddhi Yoga is better? So you can see, in essence, it's pretty much the same. 5-1, same story. B, give me one unequivocal statement, Krishna, in 5-1. What is it? Work in devotion or renounce work?
Yeah.
So you can see it's practically kind of rephrased a bit differently, but it comes to the same. And again, here's 12-1. What is better? Bhakti or worship the impersonal, meaning to renounce. So you can see for yourself, this is the main driver of the Gita. Krishna wants us to work. That's the bottom line of the Gita. And of course, preferably for him. That's what it goes without saying. But that is the gist of the Gita. Kama Yoga. Okay, so let's hear perhaps number 2, and then we will go into the first question of the homework. Yeah, go ahead.
Text number 2. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, those who fix their minds on my personal form and always engage in worshipping me with great and transcendental faith are considered by me to be most perfect.
Yeah. So the question could arise, first of all, that is the first question, pros and cons of impersonal worship. There's a long list. I'm sure you must have done your homework, made a chart and drew columns and, pros and cons, So let's hear from you.
I did very simple because I didn't have time to go.
Yeah, and I noticed it's very short.
Traveling.
Yeah, it's very short compared to Vignesh, yeah.
Yeah, Vignesh always a lot very.
Yeah, Vignesh could be teaching practically. He should be teaching. Okay, so let's hear from you, Vignesh. The cons of impersonal worship.
Like I listed down like few points.
Yeah.
Like first, the most important is it is difficult to perform for the embodied soul, like Krishna says, Klesho adiktaras tesham.
Yeah.
Then there is a risk of fall down. Like Prabhupada mentions in his purport that there's a good chance that even they can turn to atheism, because they don't find any good taste or blissfulness. The aspect of Ananda is not there. They just realize the aspect of Sat and Chit, but not Ananda. So there's a good chance that they may fall down, they may turn to atheism, or they may even end up just taking up some humanitarian or some kind of philanthropy activities, but they will.
So can you back up with a verse for that? There's a very good verse backing up this point.
Yeah.
Bhagavatam verse.
Yeah, the patanti adha, that verse.
Yeah, exactly. Lord Krishna and the demigods come to the prison of Devaki invisibly. And they mentioned that verse 10-32. Yeah. Because Yashmat Angri, Yashmat Angrayaha, because they haven't gotten hold of, they are not clasping the word, the feet of Lord Krishna. Patantyadaha, again they fall down. Even though they may enter the Brahman, can you imagine? Brahmajyoti. But they may stay there millions of years. But once they have gotten over it, the soul has to act. The soul is Chaitanya Chit, is full of activity. So they have to exercise this proclivity for action. And unfortunately, because they are not Krishna conscious, how can they exert that proclivity for action except within the material world? That's all they know. That's all they know. This is how they fall down. Very good point, Vignesh. Carry on.
Yeah, third point I mentioned that it is against the constitutional position of the living entity, because Krishna mentions like Mamay Amsha Jiva Loke, like we are the eternal part and parcel of Krishna. So we're meant to serve Krishna. So they don't actually directly engage their senses in serving Krishna. So they just try to do rigorous penance to restrict their senses.
Aruya Krishna. Aruya Krishna. Brahma
Yeah.
says 10:232. Yeah.
So they don't utilize the senses, like what we say, like Rishikeshana, Rishikesha Sevanam.
Yeah.
So that's what devotees do. So that's why they are less prone to fall down.
Okay.
But then there's a much greater chance that if you don't engage their senses and just try to artificially restrain that, that is one cons of impersonal worship.
Yeah.
And again, it's not a Yuga Dharma of Kali Yuga, so it is less effective and a very long-winded process. So, like Krishna mentions later, that it takes a long process to ultimately attain perfection, and that too ultimately it has to come by rendering service to lotus feet. So, why not just go straight rather than going in a long-winded manner?
Yeah.
So that is a few of the points.
Okay. And then obviously you mentioned after that the pros of personal worship.
Yeah.
It's easy to perform. Susukam Gautamavayam, that's good. It's aligned with the constitutional position of the Jiv. Yes. Jiveras Varupai, Krishna Ranjitadas, Krishnara Tatashta Shakti, Beda Beda Prakash. This is our nature. We are meant to serve Krishna. We don't want to serve Krishna, we're going to serve Maya. But we're going to serve anyway. Then you say most effective, quickest path, yes. Harinam Sankirtan. No artificial sense restraint involved. That's very important. That's a very important one. Because how do you want the impersonalist to get purified? Goloka, tell me that point. Why it's difficult for an impersonalist to get purified?
Because they worship the manifested form of the Lord.
Yes.
And they also think, some impersonalists think that they become one with God.
Yes.
And because that why for them, how can they get purified? They think they themselves are God.
Exactly. How can they have denied the good use of the senses. Since they are denying their own senses in the name of materiality, how can they get purified? How can you get purified in the first place if you don't use your senses? Kriti sadhya bhavet sadhya bhava. We have to engage the senses. It's just like you want to know how to swim. You have to get in the pool and start swimming. You may put a buoy. You may an expert swimmer may guide you, but still you have to get in the swimming pool to start swimming. So Rishikena, Rishikesha, Sevana Bhakti Rochette, unless you engage your senses, you cannot get purified. So the poor people, those poor fellows, they end up carrying all kind of anarthas in the heart. Externally, they may practice, they may recite Vedanta Sutra and all, even sannyasis. But internally, they're struggling with themselves because they cannot get purified since they have negated. You understand? Negated their sensual activities.
So if they merge into the Brahman, they will become one with Krishna. They don't stay there forever.
No. No.
Even if they have to come back again.
Yeah,
to this
10:232. We just quoted that verse. Patantyadaha, Yushmat, Angrayaha. They don't clasp the feet of Lord Krishna. Thus, henceforward, they fall down. Even though they may be staying billions of years. That is why the devotee is the only one who can proclaim higher. Who will dare to, who will have the audacity to claim further than the Brahmananda? No one. Oh, Brahmananda is, yes, we want to get free from this material life. It's hellish. Let's revolve. Let's revel in this state of no anxiety. Brahmananda means there's no anxiety, no more mental anxiety. All the three clash are gone. Adhyatmik, Adhidevik, Adhibhautik, they are gone. Gone with the wind. So, they are just so happy to experience that Brahmananda. It takes billions of years to get over that. But at one point in time, again, I want to exert my proclivity. I'm a spirit soul. What should I do? Well, sorry, sir. There's nothing to do. So you please go back down. You follow?
Yeah.
They have no room to exercise their sensorial activities because they have been negating their spiritual identity. Plus, they're unaware of Krishna. How can they get purified? This is a dead end. They're stuck in their own ways. This is dangerous stuff, actually. So let me go through my list also. I have got a list in regard to the pros and the cons. So just like, of course, some of them have been already mentioned by Vignesh. Klesho Digatarastesham, it's a past 12.5 full of miseries. Klesho means miseries. Whereas Bhakti is Susukam, Sulabha, very easy. And another point I mentioned is impersonalism is a bit theoretical, whereas Bhakti is practical. Like do something. Remember, I don't know if you remember that devotee Goloka, Subal. He left the world now. He joined in San Francisco in 1968. I remember, and he used to carry always 2 bags, one across the other. Quite fatty, American devotee. And one time he told, they were exiting Krishna Bharam Mandir, Prabhupada was, and it had been raining, so there was pools of water here and there. And that devotee Subali started quoting a verse, from the first canto, you are the captain of the ship. What is our good fortune that we have met you? You can guide us across this dangerous ocean. So Prabhupada turned to him and said, do something. Just clean the place, or, remove this water, these pools of water here and there. Prabhupada is very down to earth also. Do something. So this is Bhakti. Do something. You follow?
Yeah.
So this is the point, Then it's, Vignesh touched on that. Bhakti is direct and impersonalism is indirect. Natural, the other is unnatural. Bhakti is perceptual. It's perception. You can perceive. It's perceptual. Klesho Dikatarastesham, it's non-perceptual. How can you touch the unembodied? How can you touch the non-manifested? Tell me. Tough, very tough. Then I would say Bhakti is guaranteed. What is the verse in the Gita that says Bhakti is guaranteed against all odds? Way back. It's guaranteed. Just like, you buy a product, sir, it's guaranteed 2 years. Bring the slip back, we give it back, even refund, even exchange. No question. It's guaranteed. So what is the guaranteed of the Gita and of the Krishna and the Gita? Guaranteed.
Na me bhakta pranashyati.
Which one, Vignesh?
Na me bhakta pranashyati.
Yeah, carry on.
Is that the one? Like where Krishna boldly declares that my devotees will never
Yeah, that's a very
fall?
very good one. I was thinking of another one. Goloka, any thought?
I was thinking, even as a yogi, who, those who engage devotional service, even they don't finish in this life, they continue.
Exactly, 240. Neabhikram nashatosti pratyavayena vidyate. Svalpama pasyadamasya trayate mahatubhaya. There's no danger on this path. There's no stepping back, regressing back. No. You fall at 5%, you start off next life 6%. And whereas in the impersonal path, it's risky. It's risky stuff. Remember this Vishvamitra and all. Remember? And what do you call it? Surabhi Muni, Vishvamitra, he had been going already for thousands of years. Then Indradev sent an apsara, the tinkling of the ankle bells and stuff finished. Story is over. He got broken down from his meditation, and he had a child with her, one or two, I forgot. And then he felt sorry for himself. I blew it badly. Start from scratch. So like Vignesh said, actually, a very good point. There's always a danger if you ignore bhakti. There's always a danger to become an nastic, atheistic person. And you can see, actually, I don't want to be heavy, but devotees who left the path of Krishna consciousness, some are kind of crawling back over time, very humbly and meekly, crawling back practically on the floor. But some who stuck to their ways never came back, and on the contrary, they became some became atheistic.
Yeah.
To hell with everything. To hell, I wasted my time. To hell with everything. Start smoking, and I don't want to mention names. I've seen very big gurus.
I think some devotee who has been hurt somehow also they really become very, very like inimical, very, very like to the movement and
Inimical, that's the right term.
The association of devotees, the practice.
Practically, they become atheistic. Of course, you may say they're covered over. It won't last. Next life, they will start off again. Krishna will give them a second chance. So it's just like for Jamil. But it's risky. It's risky. I was reading even, I'm teaching 7th chapter to another group. Vishwanath on 7:15, you know the verse. Namam dushkatino mudha prapajante naradamaha. You know that verse 7:15, the 4 dushkritina.
Yeah.
Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, even he puts in those 4, even someone who falls away from the path. Heavy. He pulls it into Naradama. He says it's even worse. That's the worst thing ever, to leave the association of devotees. So it's a mixture of two things, 240 still applies, Niyabhikram Shatusti. He's covered over big time. Once he's going to shrug off this Maya, it may take him a lifetime. Next life, he's going to shrug it off. Krishna will, just like 641, 642, even against his own will, is going to reconnect with Krishna. But again, according to Vishwanath, he's Naradama, the most fallen of all, because he left. He was so close and he turned his back. It's heavy. Some people say it's even worse than not to have even met the devotees in the first place.
Yeah.
Because, you're close. You may be, there's two different things, Like, you may be weak, you may be fallen, but you stay within the association of devotees. That's number one option. Number two is you are weak, you fall down, and you leave. Option one is much better.
I'm wondering, why these devotees, like, they have so much knowledge, they know this is the best, but choose to reject it. What
Yes.
made them? I know, so they have so many issues. I got hurt, and there's so many
Well,
things.
Krishna
They
answers
just
that.
blame the woman, but they don't have this connection with Krishna.
What is the verse, Vignesh, to answer Goloka? There's one verse, beautiful verse in the Gita that explains to her exactly what she needs to hear. At the end of third canto, third chapter.
That mind control, like not
Yeah.
able to control the mind.
Gyan Vigyan Nashanam. This is the answer. 341. And Krishna says, in the very beginning, Arjun, you start controlling your senses. It's easier. And he goes, Patmanam prajayenam gyan vigyan nashanam. This calm is so nasty. Nashana means to destroy. Vignashan. It destroys. Vignashan, it destroys the nerves. Gyan, Vigyan Nashanam, both are destroyed. The Gyan and the Vigyan. Can you imagine? They were so Krishna conscious. I don't want to mention names. One of them made me join even in 84, 85. Now he left his car. He must be somewhere, I don't know where, but I guess it was Narayan Maharaj, but extremely powerful. Extremely powerful. I've seen with my own eyes. But pushed, what is the verse? Punar Musikubara. From a tiger, you become a mouse again. You know the verse. Punar Musikubara. So this is the answer, Goloka. It destroys Gyan and Vigyan. It's heavy. Huh? It doesn't mean they're doomed forever. Again, 240 remains true. Next life, they're going to reconnect, no doubt. Sometimes it takes one life to get it over with. Okay, so let's carry on. Let's see if I've got more on my list here.
No, some devotees, they said, okay, let's suppose the children is not Krishna conscious, the parent, or they say, okay, we don't have to worry because you're going to liberate us if you go back to Godhead.
Oh, you're saying, they're saying we don't have to worry?
I heard some children saying, even we are not Krishna conscious, but if my parent or pure devotees, they go back to Godhead, they will liberate us.
No, because, yeah, if you're on the level of Prahlad, it's 21 generations up and down, yes. But are you Prahlad Maharaj? If my son tells me that, I'm going to tell him, look, I'm not Prahlad. I'm just a regular guy, So don't take a chance. We are Jeev. We are
those
Jeev.
who go back to Godhead, they're gonna liberate their
well, if you are definitely, if you're on the level of Prahlad, this applies, But it's your own effort, You have to put it your own effort. If my son doesn't practice at all, I cannot practice instead of him. Doesn't work. He's a Jeev. He's different from me. I can facilitate him, give him all the tools, but it's just like you can bring a horse to the river, can't force it to drink.
I think bhakti ultimately has to have a proper motivation.
Yeah.
Like even if someone is saying that, just because my parents are pure devotees, anyway they will take me, that means the motivation is not very properly applied.
Exactly.
It is not responsible to say that thing in first place.
This is a bit impersonalistic, if you ask me, Goloka. Just like the children of Prabhupada. Who made it? I mean, I met one. He left the body. I met one, the youngest one. He was quite favorable. His name was, even his daughter unfortunately drowned. She was married to Sujitendriya, and she drowned. There was a big flood in Mayapur 20 years ago. And she drowned, the one of the son drowned, can you imagine? And one of his brothers, Sujitendriya's brother, drowned the same day. He lost 3 persons. Who? Sujitendriya. Sujitendriya was married to the granddaughter of Srila Prabhupada. Oh. And she was the daughter of him. His name is Vrindavan. Yes, Vrindavan.
Yeah, yeah.
Vrindavan, I met him. So he was the youngest son of Srila Prabhupada. But I mean, they didn't turn all favorable. One of them sued ISKCON 30 years ago, remember? Narayan
Yeah.
Maharaj was still around. He went to court in Mumbai. He said, I want ISKCON, I'm the son.
I want all the property of my
Can you
father.
imagine? What kind of nonsense? We had to go to court. Tamal Krishna Maharaj was still around. And then even Narayan Maharaj helped ISKCON in those days. He said, no. And lucky there was a deed. Prabhupada has written a deed, a will. The guy lost in court. He himself is son of Prabhupada. Do you think he was favorable to ISKCON? He wanted to take away ISKCON for himself. Rascal.
Mm.
So, you know, Advaita Acharya had 6 sons. 3 became Mayavad. 3 became, of course, pure devotees. They're Vishnu Parikar. Gopal was one very great. Himself is Vishnu, Tattva. But 3 others became Mayavad. So we have to be very careful. So let's carry on with that list. Even to become a qualified impersonalist, it takes qualification. You have seen the meeting of Prakashanand Saraswati and Mahaprabhu in Benares. Then what is this nonsense of chanting Hare Krishna, Harinam in the street? This is sentimental. Forget it. Just read Vedanta Sutra. Be sober. You know, they're very sober and very rigorous. So its qualification is there. Are you like Krishna? Their austerity is way beyond us. Much more austere than us, by far. Especially for women. No woman in impersonalisms. Nothing. It's forbidden. Whereas for Bhakti, is there any, what is the adhikar? What is the adhikar?
Anyone can join.
Yeah, we will discuss in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. According to Rup Goswami, the adhikar is ruchi, the taste. You have a little taste in something. Oh, I like this sound. What is that sound? The bling, 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 bling. Let me get closer. Oh, this is nice food. What is it? Yes, I like the food. Oh, this book, I like it so much. So a little taste. But again, no qualification in terms of, you know, practice whatsoever. You shouldn't be too attached, shouldn't be too detached. Then in terms of knowledge, impersonalism is incomplete. It's incomplete. Whereas Bhakti is conclusive. It's Siddhant. Tasmat. Therefore, it's conclusive. Now, in terms of Nirgun and Sagun, please explain. There's one verse coming up soon here. I think it's in, we'll keep it for 5. You'll have to explain Nirgun and Sagun. Again, I found that in terms of impersonalisms, it's against the nature of the spirit soul. It's against the nature of the spiritual, blissful self, you know, to restrain. I should restrain. Yukta Viragya. I'm not supposed to have any sambandha, any connection with this material. I have to restrain my senses. But again, how can you get purified inside? It's artificial. So Prabhupada says we should not futilely, you say futilely, try to deliver oneself in spiritual realization. We should not even try. Even deliverance is a byproduct of bhakti. They are very arduously, they are trying to deliver themselves. No, we don't have, it's not our propaganda to deliver oneself. Krishna is doing it. Samudra is going to say it very soon. You know, there's so many reasons. We should know these reasons because, you know, especially you live in India, you can come across these people to just put them back on track, you know. So, anything?
Ignace, I'm sure you have a lot of friends. Do you preach to your friend in college?
I'm not going in college right now, so maybe I will do that once I go to college. I'm planning to go to college. Let's see.
Yeah. So now my
When I was in
question.
college, I was not a devotee at that time, so it took me some time then.
Okay, so my next question was, why Arjun, right after Bhagavad-gita 11, dealing with the Virat, immediately restresses, I should have said, stresses again on Bhakti? Why is that? Yeah, it's a good point. Why? Why? You please share. You have already answered, both of you.
I'd say that being a great devotee of Krishna, he's not interested, you know, in worshiping the universal form. He's satisfied just in seeing, and the Krishna has Shama Sundar, and because Arjuna has a special attachment for Krishna, and he's very happy just to serve Krishna.
Yeah, exactly. This is good.
Yeah.
Vignesh, you want to add up to that?
Yeah, like I mentioned at the start, like Krishna already described a lot of different types of yoga to Arjuna. Like in the end of 6th chapter, Krishna mentions that yoginam api sarvesham, that the bhakti yogis are the best. But then again, Krishna talks about other aspects of the yoga, like when he says like jnana prayana kale mana chalena, like he talks about how the even dhyana yoga and all other aspects. Then it also talks about karma yoga. So I think Krishna, spoke some things apparently equivocally. So Arjuna just want to now understand which is the best of the part. Like just like he asked him before, he again want to just confirm again, maybe for our sake, that which is the best of the part. And already that Krishna has mentioned in 11th chapter, Vishwarupa and all other aspects. So just want to specifically get a clear answer from Krishna on that.
Okay. I understand you. I would add up something else. Why is he stressing immediately after the 11th chapter back to full swing Bhakti Yoga? Because it seems to me he wants us to avoid mistaking the Virat as impersonalisms within matter. Because basically that is Virat. Virat means what? Impersonalisms within matter as the supreme aspect of the absolute truth. So he wants to make sure we don't mistake that the absolute truth is the Virat. It is the Virat, yes, to some extent, because we have seen 1147, it's a byproduct of internal energy, no doubt. So basically it's impersonalism within matter. But again, he doesn't want us to be mistaken as to think, well, that's the all in all. No. He wants to ensure, Arjun wants to ensure that for all, the superiority of Bhakti, Krishna Bhakti. This is basically what I would say. I mean, what you say, all of you, both of you, is correct. So there's Bhakti supersedes of a Gyan, which is renunciation of work to it, because that's their modus of operandum, the impersonalists. They renounce work to attain impersonal realization. So that is why he's so keen to go back on track. Immediately, 12:1, you have seen. What is better? What is better? For himself, he wants to reinsure about his own position because he loves Krishna, we know. But for the whole world to know, he wants to eulogize this path of Bhakti. Because he wants us to become attached to the personal form of lotus of Krishna, basically. And if you understand Krishna, you understand all the other forms, including the Virat. So,
yes. I was just going back to the last chapter, like Krishna shows the universal form. And then in the 48th verse, Krishna says that this form that you are seeing, cannot be understood or cannot be seen by studying Vedas, performing austerities, nor by doing charity and all those things. And again, after showing his two-handed form, again Krishna speaks in 53rd verse, again the same words, almost like a repeated verse, that this form you cannot see by simply studying the Vedas, nor by undergoing penance, charity, worship and all. So it seems apparently that Krishna is trying to give equal weightage to both Virat form as well as his two-handed form, because he's putting the same amount of gravity while speaking those two words, 48 and 53.
Yeah.
So maybe Arjuna would just want to clarify that, which is the
Exactly.
proper object of worship.
That's a very, very good point, Vignesh. Excellent point. Yeah. Because, Krishna, for him, it's all the same.
Yeah.
Krishna is one, actually. Yeah. So, Advaita Gyan, it's all one. It's all one. There's only Krishna. When you boil it down to what it is, there's only Krishna. Shakti Matayo Abhida. Since all the energies are within the Shaktimam, the energetic, there's only Krishna. You look out there, we are Krishnas, material energy is Krishna's. Whatever you see is Krishna's. Basically, it's only Krishna. So, it's a very good point. So, again, I would say, no disturbance to his love, to Arjun's love for Krishna. He doesn't want to disturb his love for Krishna. So yeah, even though he asked for the Virat, he has seen the Virat, he was totally beyond words. He was practically on his knee, a Maharati on his knee, pleading, crying even, please remove that form. So he doesn't want his love to be disturbed anymore. So he wants to clarify his own position.
I think it is more the purport also Srila Prabhupada mentioned is that Arjuna, he wanted to see the opulences of Krishna. So he requested him to see the universal form, just to prove to, for the non-devotee that Krishna is not an ordinary person,
Yeah, obviously it's easier to relate to the impersonal word form as God than as Gopal. He's eating laddu in his left hand, he's going barefaced in Vrindavan. Even Brahma got befooled. Brahma Vimohan Lila. What to speak of a tiny Jeev? So it's obviously easier for the layman to accept Virat as God, obviously. Yeah. So now, another point I'm thinking of to defeat impersonalisms, we have to be expert. Prabhupada was reveling in pleasure when devotees were expert at defeating impersonalisms. He would have verbal, philosophical debates to make them quite astute, how to defeat. We have to be also expert at that. I'm thinking of another clue. It says, how can I put it? The impersonal manifestation, either in the material world or the spiritual world, is of the Supreme Lord. It is a problem for meditation. Whether you be in the material world or the spiritual world, it is a problem for meditation. In other words, we cannot conceive of the impersonal feature of the absolute truth. We cannot perfectly conceive, I would say. So basically, Arjuna is asking, what is the use of such a waste of time? And lo and behold, it's amazing that thousands of people, by far, it exceeds by far, the impersonalist number exceeds by far the number of the personalist, isn't it? By far. I mean, it's not even close. So, but Arjuna wants to understand, he wants us to understand what is the use of such waste of time. Arjuna is heavy here, actually. What is the use, my dear, all these great munis? What is the use? And then I ask another question, which was not in the Gita. If you look up 2.10.35, you'll be able to explain the two types of impersonalists. Have you read this section? I found it very pertinent to this section on the study.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you read that purport?
Yeah.
So please answer then. There's two types of impersonalists, actually. Prabhupada described very beautifully. It's 21035. What are those two types?
Oh. I just, where is it?
You wrote it. Let's see. This is Vignesh.
Yeah, it is impersonalists who think that the absolute truth as a universal form, the all-pervading form.
Yes.
First type impersonalists. And the second type is impersonalists or those who accept the Lord as Brahman, Brahman and Krishna and manifested, and Krishna's form has also as and manifested indescribable and subtle form. That's the two things.
Yeah. Vignesh, you want to add up anything on this question?
I'd say the same thing. One is impersonalist, avyaktam, nirvishesha, who are attached to nirvishesha and avyaktam aspect, which is the Brahman aspect. And other is Vishwarupa, who are attached to like Virat Purush, like Sahasra Purusha. So they think like they're like a more or less a pantheist. So the two types of people who can be classified as impersonalist.
Yeah, Vishvatomukam, the 950.
Vishvatomukam.
They worship the Vishvarup as the all-pervading universal form, which is true. And the other guys are those who worship the unmanifested, the indescribable, the subtle form, let's say. And Prabhupada very nicely explained in 235 that basically pantheisms and monisms are respectively applicable to these two conceptions. Pantheisms means, what is pantheism, by the way? Goloka, can you explain pantheism?
Is that the people who think that they're God or something?
Pantheism means, okay, Vignesh, go ahead.
Like pantheism means they consider everything as God, like entire universe is God. Like maybe when we say like, often people say, I have a great gratitude towards the universe. Like they don't normally take the name of God, but they like to have a gratitude for the universe. So it's like they don't consider God as something a personal form. They just think God is just deep into the entire universe, all pervading.
Yeah.
Nothing more.
They're thinking, Goloka, that God has spread himself thin all over the creation. He has spread himself so thin that he's no more. He's all over the place. He's in his creation. And the example is given. If you take a piece A4 size paper, you rip it off in 1,000 pieces, you scatter them in the wind, they're all gone. The sheet doesn't exist anymore. So in the same way, God has spread himself. He's Parashashakta Vivideva Shruyate. Okay, he's all over the place in his creation. It is no more. So definitely we cannot deny it's one type of impersonalisms.
Yeah.
And Prabhupada explained in the second canto that actually these pantheisms will lead to demigod worship. So this is definitely some type of impersonalisms, we cannot deny.
So they think that God expand himself, then God doesn't exist or something?
Yes. See, they forgot to apply one element, achintya bed abed, Goloka Nivasati Akiratma Buddha. It's not because he resides in Golok, Nivasati is also Akiratma Buddha in everyone's heart, but he retains his individuality.
Yeah.
You understand? It's not because Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate, he still remains Om Purnam, even though so many units emanate from him, and they are themselves their own unit. They themselves become Purnam also, absolute, but he himself retains his Purnam nature. It's called Achintya Abed. They don't get that point. He's thinking just like a regular Brahmavad or Mayavad even, they're finding fault with the fact that Because for them, Brahman is homogeneous, is Advaita. It cannot be broken down. It cannot be differentiated. It's undifferentiated. It's Keval Brahman. Advaita Gyan. So for them, when you tell them that God exists, they're thinking, no, it's going to alter the purity of Brahman if God exists. So they don't understand that when Achincha Shakti, the Achincha Shakti of the Lord, transform and account for the variety of this world, but he himself is different from his energies. You follow?
Yeah.
Just like a very crude example, Bill Gates, the guy may be playing golf in the Bahamas Island. He has nothing to do with what's happening in his factory of New York or Philadelphia, in Microsoft company factory there. But he himself is having other types of activities, but still he is in charge. You follow? You say yes or you say no?
Yes, yes.
You know,
Yeah.
it's not for us, it's easy to understand. But
It's
that's where they put their foot in the mouth, basically. He himself doesn't become transformed, even though the Ashincha Shakti do transform themselves for the sake of the variety, the variegatedness of this world. Yes, they transform, but he himself doesn't transform. So there's no alteration of Brahman at all. Brahmano hi pratishtaham is the source of Brahman, first of all. So this is one type, the Virat Rup, the Vishvatomukha. And what accounts for monisms is basically those we are discussing in the 12th chapter. They are focusing on the unmanifested, the undescribable. Basically the Brahmavads, you know. What are the Brahmavads? Brahmavadis. Can someone explain? There's a difference between Brahmavadis and Mayavadis. Be careful.
Yeah, well, yeah, the Buddhists are the monism.
Let's be more specific here. What are the differences? We're doing it. We're going into an impersonal, Tattva discussion here. So, what is the difference between Brahmavad and Mayavad? I know it's not in the course. It's not in that second chapter verse I told you to study, but for the sake, of pushing it further a little bit, we should know the difference because it's important to know. The Mayavadi Bashya Shunile, I Savanash, Mahaprabhu says, if you study the Mayavad Tika, Manjusha, it's doomed, you're doomed. The Brahmavadis are not as bad. Why? They are not offenders, the Brahmavadis. They're much better off than the Mayavadis. See, the Brahmavadis, they accept that Lord Krishna's form is transcendental. They are totally fine with that. Sachidananda Vigraha. But where do they fool themselves? They are thinking Krishna's Rupa is an offshoot of Brahman. And actually, remember in the Sri Show, many demigods are on that level of consciousness. There's a verse in the Sri Show, I don't know if you remember, even in the Gita. I always point it out when I teach, either of the two. Many demigods they enter that conception. Yes, Krishna is a transformation, is a manifestation of Brahman. They're called Brahmavadis. Now,
are there any proper examples for real Brahmavadis, in our scriptures? Like, could we say Shukdeva Goswami was a Brahmavadi earlier?
Well, Prabhupada calls him a monist. This I know. He's not specific. He just like the four Kumars, oftentimes they fall into the same category, the four Kumars and Shukdev. He calls them monist. He's not specific. I don't want to put words in his mouth. You better ask his father Vyasadeva.
I find that the line, the boundary between Brahmavada and Mayavad is very thin, no? Because people who say that I believe the form of Lord is transcendental, at the same time worship the impersonal aspect. Why would they do that? Like
They got it. They
what
got it
kind of
backwards. They got it backwards. They're thinking, yeah, they're incomplete. Just like I mentioned, one of the drawback of impersonalisms is incompleteness. They don't have the Siddhanta right. Even certain demigods are on that level. Whereas the Mayavadis, they're much worse. Why? They are
Because
much
they
they
worse.
condemn the form of Lord?
Yes,
They think that God, that Krishna doesn't have a form.
exactly. Oh, he has no nose, he has no legs, he has
Yeah, it's
is
formless.
Nivishesh.
Mm.
Is Nivishesh. Without attributes. So it's more rascal. They are offenders actually.
So the Brahmavadis, their knowledge is incomplete because
Yeah. They're not offenders
they
per
don't know the
se.
Param Brahman.
Yeah, they got mixed up when it comes to who is first, Krishna or Brahman.
Okay.
You have to tell him 1427, Brahmano hi pratishtha. Okay, let's move on. We've been quite hammering the point home here. So number 2, did you cover number 2? I forgot.
Yeah.
We did.
Yes.
So Krishna is immediately, without any further ado, immediately, Maya Veshyamano Yemam, sorry. Devotee is constantly engaged. He chants, he hears, he reads, he cooks, he goes shopping, he washes the temple, whatever. So Arjuna is happy because Krishna is reinforcing that point home. He's happy to hear that Bhakti is superior. But again, for the sake of others, this is compassion. What is the state of affair of all the others? What are they going to attain? Those who renounce work. Are we, Krishna, please tell me, are we fully able to worship the unmanifested? Is it possible? 3-4.
Oh, we're 3-4 now?
3-4, yeah.
Yeah.
3-4, you can read out.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Is it? Oh, it's okay. But those who fully worship the unmanifested, that which lies beyond the perception of the senses, the all-pervading, inconceivable, fixed and immovable, the impersonal conception of the absolute truth, by controlling the various senses and being equally disposed to everyone, such person engaged in the welfare of all at last achieve me.
So see how Krishna is so compassionate. Do you detect this compassion here?
Yeah.
I mean, in what sense do you detect this compassion?
Like in the sense, like Krishna has been very accommodating even for the impersonalists. Like he doesn't say that those who are worshipping impersonal, they will fall down, they will go to hell or something. Like normally scriptures do say that.
Exactly.
Like Patanti
Atam
Adho,
Jadaha.
all those things. Yeah.
Exactly. See, Brahma is more heavy. See, you take the big brother. The big brother is kind, but it still is heavy compared to on the small brother. But when the father speaks, is much more mellow than the big brother. Even. Big brother is going to come down heavy on the small brother. But when the father speaks, he loves them all. This is exactly what it is. Even Brahma, Patanchadaha, Yushmat, Angrayaha, they're going to fall down. And if when we speak about impersonalists, you have seen how fierce we are. To hell with them. Is Krishna saying to hell with them? He's saying, engaged in the welfare of all at last. They achieve me. So exactly, Vignesh, he bends himself backwards to accommodate
a lot
them.
of option how you can come to him.
Yeah.
Hmm?
See, this is the mercy of the Lord.
Yeah.
See, yes, it's tough. My dear boys, you want to go that way? Yes, but it's going to be tough. You'll make it in the long, long run. But he's still giving them a chance. It is not cursing them forever. He's not even cursing them at all. He's just presenting forward the hardship of the path in and of itself. It's going to be hard. It's going to be bumpy. It's going to be a bumpy road. Krishna is so kind, actually.
Mm-hmm.
You can see the difference between a Jiva and Krishna here. So, prapnuvanti mameva. But be careful. Let's be honest here. Let's be specific. What are they going to achieve? This is the question. What are they going to achieve? Specifically. Just tell me. Prapnuvanti mameva. It says here. Prapnuvanti mameva in 4.
Yeah.
Prapnuvanti means to achieve. Yes, certainly, me. But let's be specific here. Be careful. What are they going to achieve? It's only one, Advayagyan, we know. But let's be specific. What are they going to achieve? Do you think they're going to achieve Goloka Yashodanandan, Virat Roop, Yashodanandan Ishtadel form of the Lord?
No.
No. So when does it Krishna is lying? Is Krishna lying here? Prapnuvanti mam means me. Eva, certainly.
But in different features.
Yes. And which one?
Like suppose like they say those who worship the impersonalists, the all-pervading form of Krishna, they will see Krishna as the Brahman, isn't it?
Exactly. Good. They're going to get the effulgence, the Brahmajati. Is nirvishesh.
Yeah.
Formless.
The impersonal
The
form.
formless aspect. Devoid of attributes and activities. Just like 1820 in the Gita also. But of course, be careful. It's not over. That's why Krishna said, at last, if by good fortune, even Narad sometimes goes to the Brahman to preach, they meet later, they meet an exalted devotee. They may even accept the personal path and eventually achieve Krishna's seva. Just like 719. Bahunam Jamanamante, Gyanavamam Prapadyante, Vasudeva Savamiti, Samahatma, Sudolabha. So this is a long haul, very long haul. Because see what happened is the non-devotees cannot realize Krishna in the full personal form, in the full personal feature. You follow? So it may be nevertheless possible for them to realize, the expansion of the Lord as the impersonal by cultivating direct perception of the self within the heart. But they cannot realize the supreme form of the Lord. Why? Why? You may say, people may argue, why, my dear sir? Why are you saying so? Why?
Because always those who engage in bhakti yoga, they can understand the personal form of Krishna. They can.
Yes, but why? What makes us so? Are we an elite? That we have been picked up from the crowd, and we are the elite, just like the Jews. They can understand Jesus Christ. Is it like that? Because yes, Vignesh, I'm trying to draw out words from your mouth.
See, I mentioned the point earlier that don't have attachment for the lotus feet of Krishna. Like unless we love Krishna,
yes,
how will it possible to actually engage in Krishna in even Goloka?
Yes.
So they should have love for Krishna. Otherwise, why would it make it sense for them to?
Yes, but it's a secular reasoning. We could say, what differentiates them from the Bhaktas? Because Atashi Krishna Nabadi Nabavet Garayamindriye Sevonmukhe Hijivado Swayameva Spurachadaha Puran, because they don't purify their mind.
Senses. By blend senses is
Yes,
Prabhupada.
they don't purify. So then their senses, their mind retain the conceptions of material distinctions. You follow? And they remain attached to the Vishayan, the Tanmatras, the sense object. I mean, even if you can give nice discourses, if your mind and senses are not purified, you're not going to be able to act on your lofty discourses. Why? Because you are attracted to the sense object. Because you haven't purified your senses and mind. Thus, you haven't lifted up the anchor of the boat. And then, because of that only, they remain solely and wholly attached to the impersonal feature, which is manifest to them. Krishna says, yes, 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 you attain me. But to be specific, they attain the Brahman. And of course, further down the road, a Mahajan like Narad will come and tell them further, but provided, they get that kind of, another kind of mercy. So now, in 5, it's a very important verse. Prabhupada quoted 5 enormously. And read verse 5. Krishna is going to inform Arjuna now of he's going into the details of it. What is the inferiority of this impersonalistic process? 5 is a very important verse.
Text 5.
Yeah.
For those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested, impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied.
Exactly. So then it's a long purport, very important verse. Let's discuss about Sagun and Nirgun quickly. Sagun and Nirgun. What is our process? Is it Sagun or Nirgun, Goloka?
We are Saguns, and by engaging in devotional service, we become Nirgun.
Yeah, we are Sagun.
Yeah.
Definitely, you're right. Why are we Sagun?
Yeah, because we're still, we're still attached to material activities and our senses, like you said, and we still engage in material activities. But if we dovetail this,
Well, it's not exactly that.
all this
Why, Vignesh, is it Sagun? Sagun, there's nothing wrong with Sagun. It's not a negative conception, Sagun. Be careful.
the material form of the world, which covered by the Prabhupada in one, it says Sagun is, we are all Shagun because we are covered with the 25 material element within the covering of Brahman.
Yes.
Actually, our actual position is eternal servitude of Krishna.
Yeah. But here, of course, what you're saying is you're quoting obviously a quote from Prabhupada from elsewhere, which I totally agree. But here in the purport of 12.5, Prabhupada is even down to earth. What is Sagun worship, basically, Vignesh?
Like Babu, I just literally took the word, without any confusion, because generally what I have seen is that people, Mayavadi generally equate Savishesha with Sagun and Nirvishesha with Nirgun. And they consider Nirguna to be superior to Sagun. But in my opinion, the Nirguna word, actually we are Nirguna worshippers, because when we talk about Nirguna literal sense, it just means that we are not worshipping someone who has material qualities. We're worshipping someone who have transcendental qualities, like Krishna has transcendental qualities. So in that sense, we are Savishesha, but we are Nirguna Upasakas. If you just like literally considering the meaning of that word, Nirguna, because generally Saguna worshippers could be those who are worshipping demigods, devatas.
Yeah.
I would consider them as Saguna Upasakas, but those who are worshipping and rendering service to Krishna, I would consider as Nirguna, because Krishna also mentions to Uddhava in Bhagavatam that Mat Sevayam tu Nirguna. Those who are serving me, they are actually Nirguna.
Yeah. So how to reconcile the two? Even if you worship the Sagun feature of the Lord, the Archa Vigraha, some impersonalists will say, it's true. They will say, look, this is made of marble. This is made of sand. Sand, as you know, the Acha can be worshipped in sand, in the mine, in jewels, in marble. They will say, "Oh, this is material. You are idol. How do you say? You are worshiping idols. So this is." But my dear sir, remember we discussed in Sri Show, the Lord is Shaktiman. He can convert the material back into spiritual and the spiritual back into material. It's all one. Just like electricity, you can cool things or you can heat up things. The same energy. So by worshiping the Saguna feature of the Lord, you become Nirgun. This is a reconciliation. Krishna is all one. Do you think when he manifests 5 kilometers down the road, here we have Shishir, Radha, Govinda, Madhav, Krishna, Balaram. Of course, when I've been worshiping them, you touch them, it's marble. So it's Sagun, yes. But by worshiping the Sagun form, you become Nirgun yourself. There's no difference. Krishna cannot be reduced or belittled by his Sagun feature. It cannot, but on the contrary, you, the Jiv, the Nitya Bada, you become Nirgun by worshipping his Saguna form. That is why Prabhupada says here, listen carefully. Therefore, the Bhakti Yogi accepts the deity of Krishna as worshipable because there is some bodily conception fixed in the mind. Yes, you can see the form. You can perceive, you can delineate the form of the Lord. There's a bodily conception in the mind, which can thus be applied. Of course, worship of the Supreme in his form within the temple is not idol worship. Worship of the deity in the temple is Sagun worship. Why? For the Lord is represented by material qualities. And this is where the Mayavadis will befool themselves. Oh, you guys are worshiping material qualities, material qualities pertaining to this world. Thus, it's improper. Little do they understand that actually everything is Aham Samasya Prabhavo. Even matter belongs. Deviyesha Gunamayi. Even matter belongs to the Lord. It is divine. If you engage the matter in service of the Lord, it becomes transcendental. 424. Remember that verse? Everything retains, once it is engaged in the service of the Lord, it retains its Brahman nature. Whatever is used in the service of the Lord, what to speak of the deity, which is not different. But the form of the Lord, though represented by material qualities such as stone, wood, oil, paint, is not actually material. This is the problem with Mayavadas. They're going to say, oh, that's become material. Atmavan manyate jagat. The Lord is transcendental. There's no matter. Actually, for the Lord, everything is spiritual. For pure devotee, everything is. It's only for us we are making distinction. But for them, there's no distinction. Is it clear?
Yeah, they can.
Actually, they are following the path of Dvaita in a sense. Mayavadis who claim to follow path of Advaita, actually they are following the path of Dvaita because they're distinguishing in one way between matter and spirit.
Exactly.
But Krishna is all spiritual, or maybe you can say is both, origin of everything. So in that sense, we are two Advaitavadis.
It's a very good reflection. We are more Advaita than them.
Yeah.
We are more Advaita than them. Remember, Krishna consciousness is Achintya Bed. So we reconcile the pure monisms, Kevala Advaitavad, and we reconcile also Dvaitavad from Madhva. And we put it together. This is what Mahaprabhu did it. He joined the two. Actually, he joined the four. He took 2 points from each Vaishnava Sampradaya. 2 by 4, 8. And with these 8 points, he built Achintya Abed. Mahaprabhu is not a fool. My guru used to say, just like a house has 4 pillars that go deep in the soil, in the ground, very deep. Then Mahaprabhu comes and put the roof. It didn't destroy the four sampradayas. No way. It took 2 points each in each. Then he put the roof. Even Shankar, with Mahaprabhu can reconcile Shankar even. Kevala Advaitavad. Yes, everything is one, but different, simultaneously and inconceivably. So let's back to 12.5. That's a very important verse. So the example of the mailbox, is quite common.
Yeah.
No need to. This is Bhakti Shastri. This is quite simple. Now, another thing is very interesting portion here in 12.5. Prabhupada says, what lingers in the mind, even though you may have been an impersonalist, you join ISKCON, but it lingers in the mind. Did you notice that sentence in 12.5? Prabhupada says, very interesting.
Did you read that already?
At that time, he's talking about, you are influenced by impersonalisms even after joining ISKCON, even after becoming a devotee. At that time, long practice in impersonalisms also becomes a source of trouble. Why? Because he cannot give up the idea. Therefore, an embodied soul is always in difficulty with the unmanifest, both at the time of practice and at the time of realization.
So you said that even in you join ISKCON, you still retain this impersonal view.
Yes, that's what Prabhupada says here.
Can you quote any specific example?
Yeah.
Of a person who joined but still had impersonal
Yes.
view.
See, we are coming from different backgrounds. And you can see for yourself, including yourself and myself, when we sing that verse, when Prabhupada coined that shlok himself, actually, we devotees, he's talking about outsiders, they are impersonalists. But actually, it dawned upon them, actually, it's also us. We are also somewhat impersonalist amongst ourselves, with Krishna. And if you happen to have been practicing impersonalism yourself, before you joined in previous life, it lingers, it retains, just like Prabhupada gives the example of a glass that had been filled with wine. You may wash the glass thoroughly with soap, but you can smell there's been wine in there. Isn't it? Wine will stick to the glass. So in the same way, of course, it will be overridden with time, with practice of bhakti, but it lingers, especially in the first years. I've seen devotees, they're some devotees, you can see they're a bit impersonal, a bit indifferent to the suffering of others. They just trail their path in Krishna consciousness without much turning their head around. They just, stick to themselves and do the practice. That's somewhat impersonal. And I'm not saying I'm not like that, because we are all tinged to some extent with impersonalism. But I can give you a very specific case that I know, that I met when I was in Vrindavan. I was 10 years in Vrindavan. There was one brahmachari, nice person. We kind of rubbed shoulders and befriended each other. Indian guy. And I mean, he was quite active, but at times he would disappear altogether. And I didn't have a clue, because I was knowing him, but I was not that close to know about his whereabouts. And, he would reappear after a few months. And then out of the blue, and I just practice and off he's gone again. And after some years, I just approached him. I took the liberty. Prabhu, I'm very curious. Sometimes you're here, sometimes you're not there at all. And he just admitted to me. He said, look, I was into such school before. And he gave me the name. I forgot now. But I cannot give them up. They are nice people also, you know.
Mm.
And he was duly initiated, can you imagine? He was not doing nonsense. He was not in Maya. But 6 months a year, he would go back to that school and carry on practicing Krishna consciousness. And he would go back to 6-8 months a year, go back to his time. Everyone knew, and we figured out, well, it's a phase, you know, it's going to get it over with. I hope by now, I haven't seen him for 20 years. Perhaps, you know what I'm saying? He was attached to that. He was attached. And still he got initiated in his time. He was not fooling around. It retains. It's deeply ingrained, you know, the impersonalist feature. We become impersonal. Sometimes when I offer the food, I can see I'm impersonal. I'm in a hurry. My wife I have to drop my wife to work. Please, she told me, please offer. So I'm a little quick, I'm a little mechanical. And I can see myself doing it. I'm not personal. Because I'm working on the order, I've got my mind is elsewhere. I was doing something. Please, she tells me, please go and offer. So I do it, but it's rush. She has to leave. We have to feed the kid and blah, blah, blah. So I'm impersonal, the way I conduct my worship at that particular time.
I mean, you're worshiping Krishna and with your mind not attached to Krishna.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that was
Exactly.
the state of
This is exactly what we read. Just like, see, 12:2, Maya Veshya Manoye Mam, those who fix their minds on my personal form. This is what it is. If you do that, just like we're coming soon, 12:8, you will see. If you do that, then you are fully Krishna conscious. If you don't do that, you are somewhat impersonal. It's a mixed approach.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be thinking, oh, is for others. You know, the Brahma Kumari and the Sai Baba. No, it's also for us. Because we are somewhat guilty of that. Papa,
I think it is much more important, even for much more important for devotees, because in a devotee circle, we are always said that have a sadhu sangha, have an association of devotees. Often when we have sadhu sangha and we become impersonal in our dealings, we may become envious or about someone or some person.
Yeah.
Then often it happens with Kanishta Madhyama Adhikaris. So that's because we lack humility, and that's because we have certain tinge of impersonalism, because that shows up in our dealings.
Exactly.
Unless we have that state of humility, I think some amount of impersonalism will always be there.
Yeah. We are kind of, we are brushing up. Sometimes devotees, you can see they're having struggle and they approach us, Prabhu. We are kind of making Prabhu, okay, what's happening? And okay, I'm a little busy. I'll get back to you. This is impersonal. I'll get back to you, Prabhu. I'm a little busy now. But I do understand you want to discuss. I definitely. So, even if you're busy, you could say, look, Prabhu, you take your diary, say, look, why don't we meet today at 5 or tomorrow at 4? At least that's more personal. I mean, it's understood. You may have something important to do. Let's say you have to pick up your boy at school. You cannot say no. But then in your personal mood, you become personal again. Prabhu, I'd like to talk it over with you. I feel concerned. I don't want to be rude. That's personal. I don't want to be rude. Why don't we meet tomorrow? Is that okay with you? 2, 3? What's your best time? Okay, 5. Okay, I'll make it a point to come. That's the devotees doesn't feel bad. It's okay. I understand. It's personal. You can always, even though you are in a rush, even though you are not properly situated, you are a bit, bewildered or tossed about by different things, you can still be personal. Krishna appreciates that. He says, oh, I can see it's personal. Okay, what's the time? 15 minutes left. Any question on 5? Yes, Prabhu.
I'm clear.
Yeah, so I had another question here. I can see, what's the problem with the impersonalist got into 5? Let me try to see what I was trying to extract here.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think we covered that. It remains a source of trouble. We discussed that. Yes. I'm thinking of another point now. So the question remains, what's the problem with impersonalist going to 5? Why is it troublesome? We could klesho dikatarastisham. It's miserable past, basically.
Mhm.
Because we just touched on it in the beginning of today's class. Why is it troublesome? Again, the same old point. I want to drive it home so deep, that point.
Because they spend all the time in trying to understand the impersonal form of the Lord, but at the end, they still didn't achieve the goal.
Yes, but more specifically, Vignesh and Itlu.
So I was just mentioning the point of not using their senses in service of Krishna.
Exactly.
Because that is the biggest problem.
Exactly. There is no spiritual activity that exists for one who has renounced work. Try to put it in golden letter. There is no spiritual activity that exists for one who has renounced work.
Can you
There's no
repeat
seva
that?
bhava.
My connection was not.
There is no spiritual activity
No spiritual activity. Okay.
for one that exists, I would say, for one who has renounced work. This because the poor guy has renounced. How can he purify himself by work? He has renounced work. He has shot himself in the foot. How can he resort to spiritual activity? Because he has renounced work. Activity means work. He has renounced work as a modus operandum. No more work. So how can you find any spiritual activity that exists for him since he has renounced work? This is the key point. And remember, we are embodied. We are spiritual, but we are embodied. So our senses are actually demanding engagement all the time. Even at night we dream, we are engaged again. We want to contact sense object. There's no question. We want to contact sense object day and night, even in dream. We cannot 3-5. Everyone is bound to act according to the qualities he has acquired from the modes. No one can draw himself away. He's bound by the modes to contact the sense object. Opposite sex, money, whatever, pleasures, leisure. So how can he purify himself? Because there is no spiritual activity that exists for one who has renounced work. This is a very important point.
But for them, they engage in meditation.
Yeah, but what kind of...
This is their spiritual activities.
Yeah, but what kind of... remember, it's Klesho Dikatsadastesham, Avyakta Shaktashitasam, 12.5. It's meditating on the unembodied, on the unmanifest. How tough it is. How can you conceive the inconceivable? Tell me, for someone who is embodied. How can you conceive the inconceivable? Just tell me. On top of that, you are embodied. So you may argue, well, a devotee also has difficulty because he has to follow the rules, regulations that restrict the contact of the senses with the objects. Yes, it's also like us, same for us. No. What do you answer to that? What do you answer to that argument? Let's say someone may say, well, we have also to follow rules, regulations, and we have also to, atyaha, restrict the senses from their objects. So how would you tackle that one?
But you're doing that all in vain after,
Yeah. Yes, but I'm talking from the perspective of a devotee. Some devotee may argue, well, we are also experiencing trouble, just like the impersonalist, because on our path of bhakti, we also have to follow rules and regulations that restrict the contact of the senses with their objects. So how would you answer? What would you answer to that devotee who says that?
There's no loss and diminution, whatever.
Yeah, 240. The misery of the devotees is somewhat reduced. Why? Because he experiences Krishna's presence. Even if it's a brand new neophyte devotee, he feels Krishna's presence. Okay, Krishna, I'm not doing well at all. Let me stop everything. Let me channel Hare Krishna. That's it. He's connected. Even his leader will say, Prabhu, today you are totally, you're not doing well. I don't know. Just stop everything, go and chant. Finish. That's it. You don't do anything, Prabhu, today. You just chant and take prasad. That's it. That's it. It's going to be reconnected within 10 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours. So what happened is rejecting Maya's demands for Krishna service actually bring Krishna's pleasure. And not only brings Krishna pleasure, but bring him pleasure also to that devotee, to that jiv. As soon as we reject Maya's demands for the sake of Krishna's seva, we are properly situated. Now it's this verse is deep. I'm telling you, the 12.5 is Mahadeep. What may happen with 12.5? Even the impersonalists, they're very tricky. Be careful. They may say, okay, I understood 12.5. They may say, okay, because Krishna is saying here in 12.5, is certifying that renunciation, meditation as the troublesome. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to engage in bhakti now. Just like my friend, he was going up and down. He's in personal school, back to his gun, up and down. I will engage in bhakti, and I know this is temporary practice, but still I will engage for it. So what does Krishna say about these people? And thus, he may even go further, the impersonalist. He may say, okay, this way I will attain Brahman. By worshipping Krishna, I will attain Brahman. This is the Brahmavadi I was telling you about. The Brahmavadi, he may resort to Krishna Bhakti, but in the back of his mind, he's using it as a tool to access Brahman. So Krishna has discussed about these people way back in the 9th chapter. What did he say? He has discussed. Krishna, you cannot trick Krishna. Krishna has thought of everyone in the Gita. What did he say about these people? Those who are resorting to bhakti, but they have an axe to grind, as we say. They have an hidden agenda. Because by reading 12.5, they will say, oh, I should not so much engage into renunciation and meditation. It's troublesome. Okay, I got the point. Let me practice bhakti. They won't tell anyone, but in the back of their mind, they're still holding on to an impersonal pursuit. They want Brahman.
So I don't understand, if they're worshipping the personal form of Krishna, and they still think that the personal form is Brahman.
So the good thing about that is because they are worshipping Krishna, they're going to get purified. And somewhere down the road, they may change they may make a paradigm shift. But for the time being, what does Krishna says in the Gita in regard to them? Avajanati muda manushim tanumashitaha parambhava jananto mama buddha maheshwaram. 9:11, I think.
Yeah.
They do not know my transcendental form. They are befooling themselves when I come down in my human form. They are thinking I'm one of the human. They don't know that I'm avyayam, imperishable. They are befooling themselves. You follow?
I was just thinking, in a way, they are impersonal because even if they're worshipping Krishna, ultimately they have a conception that, like we talk about, Krishna has various relationships. Like some people are in Vatsalya, some people are in Sakhya, some in Madhurya. So he has a lot of relationships, even in spiritual world. And they may have a conception that ultimately relationship is not something. It creates kind of duality. So it's better to get out of the relationship and situate oneself in the impersonal conception. Even they may agree that Krishna has Vaikuntha and Krishna lives in Golok, Krishna has eternal form. That's just one aspect of the Saguna form. Exactly. I would be happier to be out of that relationship and just be of my own. So in that, they are depersonalizing Krishna and from that relationship.
Exactly. Yeah. Like you said, Viknesh, you mentioned earlier on, it's a thin line between Brahmavadis and Mayavadis. If you're not careful, this is a danger, even being of Brahmavadi, because if you hold on too long in that category, you're going to become a Mayavad. You're going to become an offender. And as soon as you become an offender to Krishna, what does the Navayogendra mention? As soon as you consciously, you disrespect Krishna, what happened to you? You know the verse? I'm trying to find that verse in 11th canto. Yesham purusham shakshat atmavav prabhavam ishvaram nabhajantya bhavajananti stanat brashta patvantyadaha. Same story. Patvantyadaha. And those it mentioned here, if any one of the Vanashram fail to worship or intentionally disrespect Krishna, let's say you are resorting to bhakti for the sake of accessing Brahman, and at times you fail to worship and intentionally you disrespect Krishna, then this is one of the Yogendra saying that they will certainly fall down into Narak. It's heavy. It's heavy stuff. You cannot play. You cannot fool around with Krishna. Better to be moksha kama udaradi, akama savamukama moksha kama udaradi. Even you are savakama. At least you stick to Krishna consciousness. You don't dilute your Ishtadev. You don't dilute your Siddhant. You may be having weaknesses of heart. It doesn't mean you should dilute the Siddhant. You follow?
Yeah.
Yes, Goloka?
Many Mayavadis, they accept Krishna, they chant Krishna's name and everything, but they don't think that Krishna, the ultimate goal is to achieve Krishna.
Exactly.
They consider Krishna just like a divine person.
You may chant Hare Krishna for centuries and remain in this material world. Bhaktivinoda Thakur explained in Harinam Chintamani, if it is chanted with offense, it becomes the alphabet. It becomes the alphabet. Definitely you're accruing some material piety, definitely. Bhakti Mukhi Sukriti, Kamon Mukhi Sukriti, etc. But you don't come out. You don't develop love of God, first of all. Number two, you don't come out. Because you chant Namaparad. So you chant, definitely. It's material Sukriti to some extent. Mayavadi, what is that verse? Sampradaya vihina ye mantrashpe nishpala mata. Nishfal. Your mantra becomes nishfal, fruitless. Better, okay, you are in Maya, but at least you remain within ISKCON. You don't dilute the Siddhanta. You chant more rounds. You go to the Dham for 6 months, Vrindavan, Mayapur. That's healthy. That's intelligent. Okay. Krishna, okay, you're having difficulty. I understand. I'll take care of you. Okay, I think it's 6 o'clock. We didn't cover much. What to do?
Well, interesting discussion.
Yeah, I mean, it goes deep here in the 12th chapter.
Yeah.
It's a short chapter, but you can go. It's
A
called.
lot of content there.
Yeah. You tell Chandra to pick up from 6, 7 onwards. He may even finish it up. I know him. He's going faster than me, I guess. Okay, so I'll be going to the Parisata Yatra. I was telling Vignesh on 26. So I won't be able to teach at all. So next week is Chandra. Then next week is, I won't be doing, again, unless he wants to do it, you check with him. I will remind him today itself that I'm going to Ratha Yatra. If he wants to teach that day, it's fine with me.
Maybe then he will not teach, right? Because anyway, we'll be having exam at that point, or maybe we'll have not exam because
yeah, but he may want to finish the 12th chapter,
That will, I think, happen in the next week itself. No?
Next week itself, yeah, because it's only 20 shlok in that chapter. It's a very short chapter. Okay, any questions?
Yeah. I say Chandra is in Nepal.
You're going to Nepal?
No, Chandra is there. I saw picture on Facebook.
Yeah.
Chandrasekhar.
Yeah, I've seen Patri, my good friend. Yeah, Patri Prabhu is very powerful devotee. He opened up basically the old ISKCON Nepal. He speaks like 5, 6, 7 languages. He speaks perfect Nepali. He's a Russian guy, Russian devotee. Very fixed up. Patri Prabhu. Okay, so don't forget your shloks and did you remit any essays for this module too?
Yeah, we'll try to work on it.
So you have to get cracking, because
there's too many festivals, too many things going on.
Thinking on the subject.
Every week there's Ratha Yatra.
I know, but then we're gonna enter the 3rd module and you're gonna lag behind. Huh? I know the story. It's like that. It's piling up after. And then you write them quickly, and then your mind is not there. You don't get as good a mark as if you were into it.
I'm just thinking chapter 11 and 12, I don't think they have verses, isn't it? To memorize?
Well, it's in the manual.
Vignesh, but I just saw them 9 is
I have not
last.
checked. I will just have to check on that.
I'm going to have to redo that list of shlok. I'm not happy with it.
Chapter 12 maybe it should be there because it is about bhakti, or I don't know. I have to check on that.
I know I'm good at least for my school, because you guys belong to the school of Chandra, but for my school I'm going to redo the shloks. I'm not happy with them. Okay, so anyway, don't lag too much behind your assignments.
Yeah,
because
I did essay and
2 essays, same story, and shloks.
Study for the test at my worst.
And the test will be, I guess, on the 26th. If Chandra finishes off this chapter in next week, then it's going to be the week after. If you have any difficulty, call me. If you want to rediscuss things, and it's fine. I'm always here.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.